And what is good, y'all? Welcome back to the YouTubes. I am the Luzard, or the Director Z, or if you know me, just Luis Zapatero. And today we're going to be talking about episode 4 of Dune Prophecy. And I know there's a lot of people probably like jumping off ship saying like, "Oh, they threw a lot of stuff at the end. Oh, there's too much information at once." Like, just shut up, okay? This show knows what it is. It's very much like a sci-fi Game of Thrones. It's very whatever, political. I really need to defend it. Like it's good. It's good. This particular episode shows a lot of the hypocrisy that the Sisterhood will become the Bene Gesserit. There's a lot of Desmond Hart making his move. Shows Valia Harkonnen was mostly pulling the strings for the rebellion that Atreides is involved with for Arrakis, mostly for manipulation purposes. But we also saw last episode that Desmond Hart has now taken the role of the Bashar for Emperor Carino, and Valia Harkonnen's been casted out of Secundus, Sicalius, whatever the place is called. And we also got big reveal for a character that has been teased to have like a secret past and some secrets and some gifts, and now we finally know what that is. One of the biggest things that happened in this episode, though, is the Lands Rat, which is a big, like congressional hall senate with all the houses, House Hagel and a bunch of houses. And the one thing you have to know about this moment is that Valia Harkonnen, since she no longer has that position of power, is trying anything she can in order to get back inside and into the good graces of House Carino and to the Emperor. So she's desperate. And one of the troubles that she has is trying to go back home to Yivkavel or Hivkavel, I forget what it's called, and find favor with her uncle and her nephew, Harrow, and her uncle Yevgeny, who is played by Mark Addy, Robert Baratheon, and he's seen better days. She goes back home, and her house is, pretty poor. They're mostly in whale fur trade, and friggin' Mark Addy's Yevgeny Harkonnen's just floating on a chair, coughing his head off, trying to fucking eat spice as much as he wants. But Valia Harkonnen offers, Harrow, the nephew, not the old ass Yevgeny, a position at the Landsrat, and uh, offering him a little bit of respect. And now Valia has more troubles, more than just trying to get back into the good graces. She mostly wants to go to the Landsrat to make an example, as she knows the rebellion, which I want to talk about after this. The rebellion is planning an attack on Emperor Carino with a thinking machine that is like this small little like bomber, like what's it called? Like little mosquito plane drone thing that's supposed to fly in. Kyrian Atreides is supposed to lift the vent, and then it's supposed to hit Emperor Carino and make an example. And the rebellion on Arrakis is supposed to be more, entitled because of it. But Valia Harkonnen's been pulling the strings with a spy inside the Resistance, and she said that when that attack happens, she's going to bring the Atreides boy to the Emperor and gain favor with him and prove that the Bashar, that is Desmond Hart, is a big fat liar. So she mostly wants to go to the Landsrat and use her family's name, for political gain. And also, we're slowly but surely getting teased throughout the season that there's a secret that Theo has, Theodosia. She was originally supposed to train Yanez Carino, but after Thessa died, one of the sisters that died in her sleep, along with the young Pruitt Richesi. But now, in this episode, we see that, Valia is kind of pressuring her to use it, and she refuses, saying that I gave that up a long time ago. But she said it may be the only way, to further the sisterhood, and that Desmond Hart stands to break everything that she is trying to do now that he's in favor of the Emperor, now that he's basically eating breakfast with him. And Yanez Carino is getting more and more suspicious that he is the one that killed Pruitt and that it's not a rumor. And he just flat out tells her that that little boy broke the cardinal rule about no thinking machines. And he lived through the Butlerian Jihad, which is what they call the machine wars, but they can't call it jihad for, political correct reasons. But yeah, living through the Butlerian Jihad meant that, a lot of machines probably killed people you knew and loved. So Desmond Hart's like very, very adamant on not having that. And during the Landsrat, The rebellion is quelled. Desmond Hart brings in the rebels that were supposed to let in the thinking machine drone, shows it in front of everyone. And Valia Harkonnen's dreams of manipulating Harrow to accuse the Imperial family and the Emperor of having and harboring a murderer of House Verchese, it went up in flames. Because not only did Harrow Harkonnen not have the balls to do it, Yanez Carino had to take over, and then Desmond Hart turned it into a big political speech against thinking machines, saying, "Oh, the rebellion's using these against us. We need to stand together and fight." And so it just kind of made Carino look just that much better, the whole family. So what started as a plot to make Desmond Hart look bad and get Valia back into the good graces of the Emperor failed completely. So everything Valia is trying to do, it's not coming to fruition, unfortunately. But also where you know back where the Sisterhood is on Wallach 9, Tula and Sister Avila are going through a little bit of something with Lila basically dying in front of everyone and the sisters and the Sisterhood saying goodbye to her. But unfortunately, Tula raised Lila since she was a child and didn't want to let her go. So she's been using, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the episode, she's been using thinking machine technology in order to preserve her. And just recently, as of the last episode, injected it all with spice melange. Like the whole tank that she was staying in was injected with spice melange. It's fucking crazy. I was not expecting that shit. You know what I mean? That's Lila in the tomb. That's the tomb I was talking about. And then when Tula turns it on, there's all these blue wirings and all this like thinking machine. Its name is Arusula, and it's a supercomputer. And then it fills the entire tank, making it orange with spice. And that may not be a good idea, at all. Like at all. It's gonna be terrible. Lila comes back with blue eyes, and she's looking and questioning the thinking machine that's in front of her with Lila. And it turns out what she's seeing is the breeding index that the Sisterhood is, practicing eugenics with thinking machine technology, trying to make the perfect leader, the Kwisatz Haderach, the blue-eyed shortening of the way. Eventually, it's supposed to be Paul Atreides, but as of right now, the theory is that Desmond Hart is a proto Kwisatz Haderach. So everything that Desmond is doing is part of the power that the worm granted to him. And everything he speaks about the worm is like appraisal, like it's a deity. So maybe on the planet, to become a proto Kwisatz Haderach, which of course means that he's not really going to live through the season, or maybe something terrible happens to him. He is not Paul Atreides. So he is not the one. But he thinks he is, and that he has powers. Because as soon as he starts burning all of the houses that were involved with thinking machine technology, he had burn marks and sears all over his back. So being a prototype Kwisatz Haderach comes with, its own powers like premonitions and prescience and, dream interpretation and, being the Lisan al Gaib and the shortening of the way. But for Desmond Hart, I guess he could also kind of burn people with his mind, which might be an alternate power to have. We don't know. But yeah, Desmond Hart seems to be like a prototype of what Paul Atreides comes later in the movies. And that also brings me back to another thing. Tula is trying her best to get any messages about how to handle Desmond Hart as of Valia's request. The Sisterhood was given capsules of spice and told to close their eyes. And they start drawing. And they're supposed to, interpret what their dreams or what's their inner messages mean by these drawings. And it gets very violent. They start drawing sand dunes. They start drawing big mouths with teeth in them that look like Shai Hulud, the sandworm. And then the last one, they're just charcoaling the entire fucking page until it's all black and there's nothing but these blue eyes. And the theory is that it may be Leto II, the God Emperor. But that's the secondary theory. First theory is that, of course, it's Paul because of the blue eyes and seeing into the past and future and the bridge between time and space. Could be both. But as of now, these nightmares are really affecting these girls and they're like violently grunting and like closing their eyes and like getting very terrified that these nightmares are messages from the deep, and they're trying to tell him that the Sisterhood is going to pay for the sins of what it's did with the eugenics and all of that we know of that stuff. And like I said, Theo's secret is revealed at the end that she is actually a face dancer. And for those of you who don't know, in the Dune universe, there are shapeshifters and people that could become other people. And the reason we know that is because Theodosia becomes Valia's fallen brother from the previous episode, Griffin, comes back as like a regular age and tells her, if you can let go, then I can learn to let go. And like, it's a whole like grieving process. And then her face starts to fall apart. You just see like this white albino, and then like you hear this chipping, and you see like it's like see through, like translucent. You can see the inner organs, and then you can hear like this chipping, like breaking sound. Valia knows that it's Theo, and she goes, "Thank you, Theo," and she like runs away, falling apart. She puts on her robes, and like her face is falling, and of course, that's when you realize that she's a product of the Bene which, if you do not know, is it's a group in Dune that are, oh no, that's the wrong, sorry. It's a group in Dune that is these albino bioengineers. Like, they're people, but they're not really people. I think they don't have hair, and they're white and skinless. Or no, they have skin, but they're hairless, is what I mean. And they, genetically or crossbreed people. They mostly work with assassins and spies. So yeah, the Bene creating Theo. Uh, Maybe she is a face dancer that joined the Sisterhood / the Bene Gesserit as to ways to be a spy, but then Valia Harkonnen kind of turned her, and she's like a double agent. And imagine having a face dancer on your Sisterhood. That's a huge advantage. You could do a lot of manipulation tactics like that. It's very, very smart, but it also risks a lot. It like, not only is it hypocritical for these things to, for the Sisterhood to be using a thinking machine, which after the Butlerian Jihad is very, very no-no and it's illegal. It just shows the hypocrisy that the Sisterhood is capable of in order to get their Kwisatz Haderach, their perfect being, and for people to kind of, adhere to what they're preaching and what they talk about. So overall, I like the show. I really enjoy the show. It reminds me of like, The Expanse or Star Trek or fucking Battlestar Galactica kind of levels. It's mostly dialogue heavy. We haven't really seen a lot of action. The only action we've really seen is like a few like Atreides and Yanez Carino sequences where they fight with, the Chris knives. And then there's with the shields, not the Chris knives. And then, but the only really indication that this is like Dune is, Harkonnen and Atreides. Everything else just feels very, very like political intrigue, sci-fi, but it stands on its own as really good drama, really good everything. I think Travis Fimmel as Desmond Hart is doing a great job. The actresses playing Tula and Valia Harkonnens are knocking it out of the park. Mark Addy is Yevgeny Harkonnen, dying on that seat, like coughing, telling Valia that she's a curse to the House Harkonnen, because everything that she did at the Landrat failed miserably. So of course Yevgeny Harkonnen was just laughing at them, rubbing it in, and then instead of Valia giving Yevgeny his breathing apparatus spice thing to live, he dies. Like, just right in front of her. And so at the end, it's revealed that Theo is a face dancer. What are they going to do with that? And then Tula brings Lila back with blue eyes as an abomination. What are they going to do with that? There's a lot of twists and turns that it shows that the Sisterhood has a lot of hypocrisies working with the Bene Tleilax for spies and assassins. And also the thinking machine thing and how that's, very bad after the Butlerian Jihad. That's like one of the big cardinal rules to never break. And the episode and the preview for the next episode is like these, masked Sadukar looking guys. They're the personal Emperor's army. I think they're going to start cracking down on anyone using thinking machines, and they're going to go after the Sisterhood. And I'm not sure if Lila's going to turn into like the first abomination that the Bene Gesserit think is like, you're not the way, you're not the Kwisatz Haderach, you're someone who overindulges with the spice and thinks that you are a messianic figure. But I wonder if they have to kill her or if they have to get rid of her or something, or what's going to happen with Lila and Tula. Because using thinking machine technology to bring her back with a spice melange tomb was not what Valia had in mind. Valia just wanted her to go through the agony to use Mother Raquela's, the founder of the Sisterhood, memories to know who Desmond Hart is. Well, he could be the Raphael, or I forget what it's called, but or he could be the Reckoning, or I mean, Lila could be the Reckoning, and like the retribution for all of the eugenic sins that they've done trying to make the perfect ruler, with the breeding index and the thinking machines. But it could be Desmond Hart, or Desmond Hart is a red herring and really just wants to hate and go after the Sisterhood and was truly blessed by Shai Hulud. Who knows? All I know is that the Bene Tleilax is introduced, kind of, and that it's opening the doors and the obscure lore that is Dune. And the Bene Tleilax and the Space Navigators Guild play a huge role in Dune Messiah, so it feels like they're setting up some Easter eggs and some stones in order to tell that story. Another thing I wanted to talk about is there's a theory that Lila may turn into a steersman and or a space navigator. So I'm probably also gonna do like a Bene Tleilax Space Navigator Guild video just to talk more about this and to like, because this episode a lot of people were kind of mad like, oh, it's so much lore thrown at once, oh, why, blah, blah, blah. I think it's great. I'm having a good time. This is awesome. Like, just knowing that there are, face dancers out there and that there are thinking machines still being used, and that Desmond Hart might be a prototype to what Paul is supposed to be, and how that plays out. Next episode looks like it's filled with action, and there's like some people are going to pay, the rebellion's going to be quelled, and the Sisterhood might pay for its actions or not be exposed. Let's see what Valia and the rest of House Harkonnen does. This was Dune Prophecy Episode 4 review and recap. Thank you for joining me, and I will be doing more of these in the future, and thank you. Later.